In this video, we're going to have a heart-to-heart, a serious conversation about Bitcoin dominance. We're going to analyze the Bitcoin dominance to understand and identify, have we actually topped out on Bitcoin dominance in 2025? What does this mean for alt season? And what if we're completely wrong about the dominance and the dominance continues to go up and Bitcoin outperforms during 2025? What will that mean for our altcoin bags? It's all relevant, guys. Has Bitcoin topped out in 2025? Let's dive in. Okay, has Bitcoin dominance topped out in 2025? What happens if we're wrong about Bitcoin dominance and then Bitcoin starts eating away at the market cap and continues to go to the upside as far as dominance is concerned? What happens if alt season's cancelled? What happens if Bitcoin dominance has topped out and we do finally get that alt season that we've been waiting for? There is a lot of questions that I need to answer in this video. But firstly, guys, anybody that's new to crypto, anybody that's new to this channel, I'm Keith. This is Crypto Bullseye. What type of channel is this? It's not a channel that's going to tell you things are going to go to the moon. It's a channel to show you and help you identify how to manage risk, how to identify and how to understand what a well-diversified portfolio is, how you can allocate your portfolio in accordance with risk. And basically, preservation of capital, guys, is the key. So it's not about the reward. You look after the risk and the reward will look after itself. And guys, I've been on my journey for 4 or 5 years now. I'm still on my journey. I've positioned myself well within the market and I'm looking to do one thing, probably the same thing that you're doing, become financially free and come away from my 9 to 5 job. I'm part-time, guys, now. I've managed to do that through crypto and I want to go completely full-time within the crypto space. However, all of this content I'm doing for free for you guys. I'm taking my own time out and I'm completely showing you all this for free. If you want to know a trading strategy, if you want to know a trading strategy which has got step-by-step rules with if-then syntax built into it, Discord link is in the description below. Get yourself in there. Just ask for the strategy. It's a 7-part strategy. Is it a magic strategy that is going to make you rich, guys? You need to understand one thing. Each strategy is different for each person. And people will tell you that there's a magic strategy. People will make you pay 200, 300, 500, 1,000. Sometimes it's astronomical amounts that they'll charge you. Guys, there's no magic strategy. You need to understand what works for you. So get yourself in the Discord, ask for the strategy, follow the rules, guys, and don't put your own money in. Go back and test it. Test it on different pairs. Test it on things within your time frame so you understand exactly what works for you before you can open the doors. That is the important thing in crypto, guys. That is the important thing with trading. Is if you do it properly and you actually go back and test this strategy and you stick to your rule sets, trade like a robot, take emotions out of trading, then it does one thing, guys. It helps you understand exactly how much you can earn before you even open the doors. So use the shop analogy. If you're opening a shop, guys, you go into a new location, you don't know exactly how much business that you're going to get. You don't know how many people are going to go there. You don't know how much you're going to sell, and it is a risk factor. Now, trading is a risky game, guys, and they say that 90% of traders fail within the first 90 days. 90% of traders fail within the first 90 days and they lose 90% of their capital within those 90 days. So trading is hard, guys, and that's why you need to put in the time, you need to put in the effort, and you need to understand whether this strategy, whether it's my strategy, whether it's your strategy, whether it's someone else's strategy, works for you within your time frame, because we've all got different mindsets, guys. And they say that if you give 100 people a strategy that's got step-by-step rules, and then you look and analyze and backtest their 100 strategies against each other, you'll find that those 100 people would interpret that strategy completely differently. So you need to understand exactly what works for you. So that was a bit of a digression, guys. We're going to talk about Bitcoin dominance. Before we get into Bitcoin dominance, remember, this is education. We need to understand exactly what is Bitcoin dominance, what impact that has on the market. So the reason we look at Bitcoin dominance is because Bitcoin is the biggest market cap leader. We can look at that on here. You can see Bitcoin has a market cap, and this is astronomical, guys, of 1,679,828,995,053. So if you look at Bitcoin's market cap in comparison to, say, the second, which is Ethereum, 242 billion. Now, 242 billion, that's a big player within the market. But when you look at that in comparison to Bitcoin, it's nothing. So the Bitcoin dominance, that represents the amount of Bitcoin, as far as market cap's concerned, collectively within the whole of the crypto market, against the rest of the cryptos combined. So what happens, guys, during alt season? What happens during alt season is Bitcoin runs, altcoins run harder. It's for a short amount of time, and we can measure that. And this is something that you need to understand, because if you think that your altcoin bags are just going to go up and go up and go up and go up, you're going to think that mentally, guys, when they are going up. But you need to understand these things are short-lived. So this alt season lasted for 23 days. So you've got 23 weeks, sorry. This is the weekly chart. Each one of these candles represents 1 week. So 2017, 23 weeks. Then you get this long accumulative phase. Now, you've got bear markets in here, and then you've got accumulative sideways phases where people are accumulating ready for the next bull run. But it's a long, boring phase. When this happens, Bitcoin outperforms the altcoins. Now, you look at the time scale between how long you've got for alt season and how long it is for the bear market plus Bitcoin season. That is 176 weeks, guys. That's over 3 years. So you've got 3 years. If you're in altcoins, that's going to hurt hard. You can drop 98%, 99%. Some of them will fizzle away. Some of them will come back. A lot of them won't make new all-time highs. There's too many of them, guys. It's going to be a lot of new projects. And when you're thinking of speculative assets, you think of new technology, and you think of 4 years later, your things that you're holding from 4 years before, the technology is 4 years old, and there's going to be better technology out there, i.e. new cryptocurrencies. So you need to understand what it is that you're getting into. When it's layer ones like Cardano, when it's layer ones like Solana and things like that, guys, they will stand the test of time, but they'll still get hit hard. As an example, Solana went to $250 in its bull market. Solana hit $7 in the bear market. So that's how hard these things can drop. So then we get 2021 alt season, and we created something here, a wedge pattern. We're going to talk about the wedge patterns very shortly. So this alt season lasted for 20 bars, 20 weeks. So you've got a 20-week alt season, and then guess what happens? You've got the boring accumulative phase. That's where we are now. We're going to talk about that very shortly. So from where price action is from the end of the last alt season to where we are now, 200 bars, guys. That's nearly 4 years. So this wedge itself is about a 3-year wedge. We've got a wedge here, guys. We're at the top of this wedge here. This is going to be a macro wedge. The higher the time frame, the higher the conviction, because more eyes are watching it. And remember, it's just humans watching the chart, watching buy orders and watching sell orders, and collectively making decisions of whether they're bullish, whether they're bearish, whether they're at support, or whether they're at resistance. So it is just human emotions, these charts. Right, looks like we're topping out so far as where we are before, but I want to talk about one thing, this ascending channel. Now, this ascending channel is a bearish move. When you've got an ascending channel that's widening and widening and narrowing and narrowing, you think of a spring. So it's coiling up, and it's coiling up for a big move. Coiling up for something like this, a big move, an alt season. Now, one thing that you got to realize here, this alt season was a big alt season. This alt season in 2021, I was here, guys. It was a big alt season. There was crazy moves. However, it's diminishing returns. We've got, as the wedge is narrowing here, the top of the wedge, which is indicating resistance. And I'm going to show you more resistance very shortly, which is indicating that it's very close as far as the top of the Bitcoin dominance is concerned. But it also represents one thing, that the returns are going to be diminishing once again. When we do get this alt season, you've got a lower drop here. So we don't know how long the alt season is going to be. We don't know how fast it's going to be. We don't know how hard it's going to run. We don't know how long it's going to be. But we need to know that Bitcoin dominance has got to drop to give us an indication that that's what's going to happen. Now, we did have a bit of a fake out here. This is where people were calling alt season before. This is where I was telling you guys, we're not in an alt season. All of the big channels were saying this was alt season. And even I was convinced, guys, that this was the first step and the first indication that we were going to get an alt season. Once we dropped this wedge, that was a fake out, and then Bitcoin pushed back up. The reason why I said that it wasn't alt season is because we never got a break and we never got a close. Total 3. That's my indication of alt season. Once we break the 1.15 trillion, and that's collectively the crypto market outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Once we break that, that's my indication for alt season. Didn't happen. So we look at dominance, and we're still looking at dominance. And now we need to understand one thing. Are we overbought? Are we oversold? This is exhaustion, guys. This is exhaustion. So we're going to bring up the indicators, and we bring up the indicators for additional confluence to find out what level we are in the higher time frame. We are collectively overbought. So each time that we're overbought, you get a pullback. And this is even in a bullish move, guys, because we're putting in higher highs and higher lows. And although an ascending wedge is bearish overall, you're still putting in higher highs and higher lows. So whilst you're going up in the wedge, you're bullish, but ultimately you're squeezing and squeezing towards the end of the wedge, and it needs to pull down, it needs to reset. So there's the first indication, stochastic RSI, that is overbought. That's indicating we need to pull back. Now, each one of these, remember, is a week. So it doesn't mean it's going to happen in the next couple of hours. It doesn't mean it's going to happen in the next couple of days. However, we've got exhaustion at this point. Next thing that I want to show you is this, the RSI. We talk about bullish divergences. We talk about bearish divergences. This is a bearish divergence where we're putting a lower high on the RSI, which is measuring one thing, buy-in and sell-in pressure. What's happened here, guys? We've put in a higher high on the chart. So that is a bearish divergence, and that's signaling exhaustion. So there's a tick for us. We want this thing to drop. We want an alt season. Next thing we've got is this big resistance here. So you've got this big resistance where you can see the candles have wicked down and wicked down and wicked down at this point. That's representing that there's big rejection at this point. And this candle here is the biggest point of rejection, where we went all the way up to 64% of the market cap. So if Bitcoin pushes up above here, then we need to get worried. If Bitcoin pushes up there, where's the next resistance point? It's going to be the top of this wedge here, guys, at around about the 64% level, which would be testing this level here. So this wedge is being respected at the moment. You can see there's strong resistance at this point, which is indicating that we are exhausted. We're exhausted. We've got divergences. We've got overbought, stochastic RSIs. We've got big rejection where we've got huge rejection wicks pushing back into this level. Now, the main thing that we need to do now is take out this low. That's going to be the first indication. It's not going to be the indication that's going to be alt season. You know what that's going to be. Break and close of total 3 of the all-time high, of the previous all-time high, should I say. But going above or going below and breaking and closing below this level here, which is 60.54%, is going to be a good indication. That's going to create a lower low, lower close candle, which takes out the previous open, the previous green candle, and then that is going to show that we are starting to reverse. Then we can look at other things. When's the dollar going to drop? Then we can look at other things. What's Bitcoin doing? Then we can look at other things. Is Ethereum starting to outperform Bitcoin? All of these things collectively give us a bigger picture, but dominance is the thing that we're talking about today. Now, one thing that I said, get back on here. One thing that I said, guys, is what happens if we're wrong about alt season? What happens if we don't get an alt season this year? We talk about stimulus in the market. We talk about interest rate cuts. And that's one of the things that's going to decide whether we're going to get an alt season, because we need stimulus in the market. We need the economy, as far as the world's concerned, to start looking better. And for that to happen, we need interest rate cuts. So that's what we want, guys. We want a weak dollar, and then we want Bitcoin dominance to start dropping. The Bitcoin dominance to start dropping. The macro needs to look better. For the macro to need to look better, we need people like China, the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Europe, all to refinance their debt and start stimulating their economies, putting new money into the market, and then giving people an indication that it's time for on risk and not off risk. When we're on risk, we're out of the dollar. When we're off risk, we're in the dollar, and we need people who have conviction to come out of the dollar. President Trump's already sending signals to Jerome Powell to say, we want a weak dollar. He wants a weak dollar. They need to refinance their debt. So does the rest of the world, guys. It is just the business cycle playing its thing. So if you did find it useful, guys, subscribe to the channel. Take care of yourself. Goodbye from me.